Wow. So these are the vehicles that we saw destroyed in the CCTV footage from yesterday by the Israeli settlers, right?
Our employees tried to stop them, but they were overwhelmed. So you see the amount of settlers, it's really non-stop.
All of them are masked, it looks like.
All of them are masked and wearing gloves. So they were really well planned.
This is scary.
It is scary. You cannot defend yourself.
Recently, much of the world has been talking about Palestinian statehood. But what would that actually look like?
I have seen some of the ugliest parts of humanity here. And that breaks you. It doesn't break you just for Palestinians, but it breaks you as a person.
We've come to the occupied West Bank, traveling from south to north to find out what statehood means for Palestinians and the increasing number of Israeli settlers living here.
כל הפלסטינאים, כל איזה מהגרים שבאו לחפש עבודה, אין להם שום שייכות לארץ ישראל.
In episode 1, we navigated checkpoints and witnessed daily harassment faced by Palestinians. Okay, I'm walking. In this episode, we push north to ask if those living here still believe a state is possible and what shape it could take under such a deepening occupation. So we've just left Bethlehem and the southern half of the occupied West Bank, and we're heading now north to Ramallah, which has become kind of the de facto capital of any future Palestinian state. Now, this is a journey that for Palestinians should be very quick and straightforward if they could only go through Jerusalem, which you can see on my left over there. But because they're unable to, they have to take this much longer road called Wadi an-Nad, Valley of Fire, that's complete with Israeli military checkpoints and can take anywhere from a couple hours, even longer. We arrive in Ramallah as the city marks the anniversary of the death of former Palestinian President Yasser Arafat. At this same exact place 21 years ago, I covered Arafat's funeral as a student photojournalist. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians from all over the West Bank came to mourn the leader who had come to symbolize their struggle against occupation and the long-held dream of statehood.
يعني هي ذكرى مؤلمة ولكن فيها أمل اللي كان دائما الشهيد ياسر عرفات يحاول يوصله بهاي المعنويات العالية وبهذه الإشارات وهذه الشعبية وهذه الكوفية لأبناء شعبنا.
We've been traveling all over the West Bank speaking with Palestinians, and there's not a lot of people who think that a two-state solution or Palestinian statehood in the West Bank is really viable these days. What do you say to them?
صحيح واليوم المستوطنين هم نفسهم الجنود لأن هاي حكومة مستوطنين أعطوا الضوء الأخضر لقتل كل فلسطيني.
Is a Palestinian state more likely today than it was during Yasser Arafat's time in the 1990s or when he passed in the 2000s?
أبعدت كثير. أكيد.
2 decades after his death, Arafat remains a symbol of defiance and hope for many here. However, that same reverence doesn't extend to the government he formed, and that remains in power today, the increasingly unpopular Palestinian Authority. So, where are we here?
Duwar al-Sa'a, Clock Square.
This is like the heart of Ramallah?
Yeah, it actually is the heart of Ramallah. You're smack downtown.
Mariam Barghouthi is a writer based here in Ramallah. Her work documents the effects of Israel's occupation and the crisis of Palestinian leadership. Is there a Palestinian state right now?
No.
Okay, no, but because it's funny, I mean, I'm watching over there, you have these police officers.
Yeah, they're cute.
Those are kind of symbols of a state.
They're not symbols of a state. They're
Okay.
administrators of, like, especially here, they're trying to administrate, traffic. But this is all symbolic. The Palestinian Authority, as an authority, has refused to support Palestinians, has refused to fight for the right of Palestinians. So they're giving the illusion of a state, but in reality, Palestinians don't even have a right to defend themselves. We're facing settler attacks every day. You had 47 children killed this year. Where were they? Where was the PA? After everything that's been happening in Gaza, a lot of Western governments have been talking about this idea of Palestinian statehood. What does that look like from Ramallah? Maybe this would have been relevant 30 years ago to have a Palestinian state. 30 years later, when we've had a genocide being committed against Palestinians, they're saying, oh, well, let's have a Palestinian state, but they're using it as a threat against Israel. So it's not even acknowledgement of Palestinian right. It's like to Israel, oh, if you don't stop, we'll let the Palestinians have a state. How likely is a two-state solution today? Are we closer or further away from it? I think that's a terrible question because you're coming at it from a place where, again, these policymakers insist on the world to see it, which is a conflict. It's not. It's not in any shape, way, or form. When you have a power murdering Palestinians in the thousands and in the West Bank in the hundreds, it is not a conflict. They bring you these political words and these legal terms that are just jargon, and they put them together in this way to allow people to think, oh, look, we're doing something. When in fact, it's not. It's confusing people, and it's prolonging and dragging Palestinians in this false hope and dream, like maybe one day you'll be able to have your own state. But state on what? Where Palestinians have become refugees? Wallah ta'ibit. I'm so sick of it. I can't report anymore because of everything that's happening. It's so much. Where do I focus on? The settlers or the army or you know, the policy makers? And all of that, the moment you finish a report, there's another piece of land being taken, there's another kid that's being shot. How many mothers do I ask? Tell me about your son. So I can, what, try to humanize him for the international community?
So how do you keep going? Why do you keep going?
That's the thing. You assume we are still going. But we're on reserves. And we're just trying to not die at this point. How do we keep going? You wake up and you're still breathing. You keep going.
We're trying to leave Ramallah to go north, but this checkpoint that just opened looks like it's going to take some time. As you can see, there's dozens of cars that are now lining up, so we're going to try to find an alternate route outside of Ramallah. Right now we're driving along Route 60 here in the occupied West Bank, and something new that's popped up are these Israeli flags that have been put up either by Israeli settlers or the Israeli government, and they go on for kilometers and kilometers. There must be thousands of them. And for the Palestinians we've spoken to, this sends a message that despite the West Bank being considered a Palestinian territory, well, the Israeli settlers, who are backed by the Israeli government, see it much differently. It's not just flags lining these roads. Driving through the territory, you lose count of the new Israeli settlements springing up on the hilltops and the construction projects to expand the infrastructure linking them. Look at, wow, it's serious, man. Wow. We stop at a gas station that's located near a number of settlements and use the opportunity to speak to some of the Israelis choosing to live in the West Bank.
People call us settlers. I mean, I welcome this title. I love settling my land. And every day that I walk here, I feel more and more connected to who I am meant to be.
הפתרון שיהיה לסכסוך הפלסטיני-ישראלי לא יהיה על ידי שתי מדינות. הבעיה, מבחינתי, מה שאני חושבת, מה שאני גם גיליתי ב7 באוקטובר, זה שהם לא מעוניינים שאנחנו נהיה פה.
ארץ ישראל היא ארץ מובטחת לעם היהודי, ורק לעם היהודי. מי שרוצה להיות פה, תחת שלטון יהודי, יכול לעשות את זה בצורה שמתאימה לו. אבל אם הם כאומה נלחמים איתנו, המדינה צריכה להוציא אותו.
תודה.
תודה רבה.
What are your thoughts about a Palestinian state here in the West Bank?
בשום פנים ואופן אין מציאות כזו שתהיה מדינה פלסטינית. המדינה הזו, ארץ ישראל, שייכת לעם ישראל לא בגלל שאנחנו רוצים, זה כתוב מהקדוש ברוך הוא.
Right now there's a lot of reports of attacks almost every day by Israeli settlers against Palestinian communities. What do you think about those attacks?
מה את חושבת? שישתקו בשקט? הם זורקים עלינו אבנים, הם באים לשם למתנחלים, גונבים להם כבשים, גונבים להם יצרים. אז מה את רוצה שיגיד? בואו תעשו? מה זה? חייבים להגן על עצמם. מה זה צריך להיות? זה הגנה עצמית.
I mean, what is supposed to happen to the Palestinians who live in places like the West Bank? Would they become parts of an Israeli state? Would they have equal rights?
קודם כל זו שאלה ממש מורכבת, כי אם ייתנו להם זכויות שוות, אז הם יקבלו גם זכות הצבעה לכנסת, וממילא מבחינה דמוגרפית יכול להיות שהמדינה שלנו, שזו מדינה יהודית ודמוקרטית, יכולה להפוך יום אחד למדינה לא יהודית. ולכן מבחינת דמוקרטית זה ממש מורכב כשיש מיעוט שהוא לא כל כך מיעוט, והוא יקבל זכויות שוות כמו כל אזרח.
לא יהיה פה מדינה פלסטינית, זה לא יקרה. בכלל, אירופה מתאסלמת, יש שם הרבה מקום שיכולים לבוא אליהם, גם אנגליה, כבר יש שם הרבה ערים מוסלמיות, שיזמינו אותם לגור שם.
So
התקשורת אף פעם לא אומרים. איך
לא,
תדע
לא.
אלימות המתנחלים ושטויות כאלה?
מצדיקים, הכל טוב, אחי.
בעיקרון לא טוב לדבר עם התקשורת אף פעם, אתה מוציא את עצמך לפעמים, אחי.
אני זה, תגיד לי...
So in the past few weeks, there's been a huge spike in attacks by Israeli settlers on Palestinian communities across the West Bank. Yesterday evening, there was a very significant attack on a Palestinian industrial area just outside the city of Nablus. Right now, we're headed to that area to see the aftermath of the attack and talk to the Palestinians there about what happened yesterday. Wow, okay, this is quite extensive damage here.
The settlers around the area, they were around over 150. And the
Over 150 settlers?
Yes, and the settlers, which we counted on the CCTV, broke in our premises.
And this is the truck that we see?
This truck, correct.
How did
This
they
is that
destroy it?
truck. So this, with backpack, has the fuel, and the other one came for turning on the fire.
While settlers swept through the area, workers and locals, including children, fled in fear. After attacking the business, the mob turned their attention to a small farm nearby, torching homes, killing animals, and beating 4 Palestinians. Why do you think the settlers coordinated an attack here on your business?
So this facility started on Saturday. This is a new facility. It's been 3 days old. A day before the attack, for example, we've received some posts on social media on extremist settlers saying that Al Junaidi is growing too much, taking over some market shares from their Israeli companies, which is nonsense.
As the biggest food distributor here in the West Bank, can you give me a sense of how Israeli settlements and attacks by Israeli settlers are affecting your business more generally?
So to receive our production facilities, it's not here, it's in Hebron. To get the food here before the distribution is very challenging. A road trip should be an hour, it takes 6 hours to reach here. That's in a good day. So we've been facing challenges before, but a direct attack like this is a new thing.
Internationally, there's a lot of talk of Palestinian statehood. How important would, industries like this be to a future Palestinian state?
It's very important. As I said, this distribution hub we've been started here only 3 days ago. We have for this facility 25 new employees for this facilities from local villages here. To have an independent economy, you need to make your own food, you need to make your own packaging, and that is what we're doing.
Because we have this delegation from the Palestinian Authority in Ramallah here today,
Yeah.
Can they do anything about this situation?
Hopefully, but
What can they do?
I don't know. No one knows, to be honest. Not sure if they know. So yesterday, when soldiers finally came,
Israeli soldiers.
Israeli soldiers finally came. They told our employees, why didn't face them, didn't stop them? It's just pathetic.
I mean, what can your employees do?
There's nothing they can do. If their employees try to defend themselves, it will be meant as an attack on soldiers, which totally different meaning.
And what could happen then?
Many bad things. I don't want to imagine.
After leaving the area, we're met by one of the many Israeli military gates that restricts Palestinian movement in the West Bank. So this makes you question the purpose of all of these military gates. There's probably hundreds, if not thousands, outside of Palestinian towns and cities across the West Bank, which this one, in particular outside the town of Beit, is at this moment closed. But as you can see, Palestinians are still able to get around it, just with a bit more difficulty than they would if it were open. ليش مسكر؟ Huh? Crazy. Things don't make sense in the West Bank sometimes. After traveling through cities like Hebron, Bethlehem, and Ramallah, we arrive at our final destination. So we've just arrived here to Nablus, this beautiful city surrounded by mountains, which in many ways is the cultural center of the north of the West Bank. We're gonna meet a young woman named Sajida. She's a young journalist from the city of Nablus, and she's gonna show us a bit around the old city. Look at this, there's people everywhere. Marhaba. Chaos. Whoa, watch out. Afwan. Wow, amazing. This rain feels like a very fitting conclusion to our trip because it's been an incredibly dry season that farmers across the region have been complaining about. So while we're getting a little wet, it's also a blessing for a lot of people here. Sajida, come. Hi, how's it going? Matthew. Hi, تمام. It's beautiful, it's raining. في الشتاء.
حلو كثير. حلو. مرحبا نابلس عن جد كثير حلوة. هذا مسجد النصر. مسجد النصر قبل أشهر دخل الجيش على نابلس وأحرق الغرف الموجودة فيه وصار في دمار يعني شامل. وأهل نابلس يعني رغم إنها يعني نابلس هي وفية لأبنائها وأبنائها كمان وفيين لإلها حتى رجعوا يعني الجامع زي ما كانوا أحلى. أنت شايف الصور كلها على الجدران على أبواب المحلات هي صور
Who are these young men in these
صور
pictures?
شهداء واستشهدوا في البلدة في داخل البلدة القديمة، لكن أنت شايف هذه الصور ممزقة. ليه؟ من الاحتلال طبعا لما يقتحم البلدة القديمة هون مباشرة بمزق أي صورة وأي جدارية وأي نصب تذكاري لشهيد داخل البلدة القديمة.
What do these armed fighters mean for people in Nablus? Because I think the Israelis will use the presence of such armed fighters as justification for the checkpoints, for raids into the city. How do people here in Nablus feel about them?
على إنهم قادة احنا نقتدي فيهم يعني طبعا احنا بنرفض نطلق عليهم ارهابيين زي ما بيحكي الاحتلال لانه احنا موجودين هون تحت احتلال من يعني عشرات السنوات وهذا بيسمى بالنسبه لنا دفاع عن النفس، دفاع عن ارضنا، عن فلسطين.
قديش عمرك؟
عمري 29.
Do you think you're going to see a Palestinian state in your lifetime?
أنا شايفته قريب لأنه حقيقة أنا عايشة على الأمل يعني في عنا أمل جواتنا إنه رح نوصل لهذا اليوم اللي تتحرر فيه أرضنا ونعيش فيه بسلام يعني.
As our visit draws to a close, Sajida insists that I try the city's most famous dish.
كيفك عمي أبو حمدي؟
أهلا وسهلا.
يعطيك العافية.
أهلا وسهلا.
أهلا فيك.
Wow, this looks amazing.
لازم الجبنة فيها تمط هيك تطلع.
يلا.
Wow.
very good.
في بلدان كتير جربوا إنهم يعملوا كنافة نابلسية بس ما كانت تطلع زي نابلس.
واو.
إلها طعم مميز غير.
يلا.
You can't help but think that if there weren't an occupation, this place would be full of tourists, not only from elsewhere around the country, but internationally as well. I mean, look at how beautiful it is. Look at this street over here. Get a shot of this street. Look at this. After traveling across the West Bank, one conclusion feels unavoidable. A Palestinian state will not be formed here anytime soon. The occupation and settlement network is too entrenched, and Israel treats the West Bank as its own, despite a near international consensus that it's occupied land meant for a future Palestinian state. Palestinians here, meanwhile, see statehood not merely as a government and its institutions, but as a means of protecting a way of life that's under increasing threat with each day the occupation continues.